Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, friends. So we are discussing about trial balance in the earlier class, right? Let's continue with that. Let's do some recap. What is the trial balance? Trial balance is the third phase in the accounting process. The first one is the journalizing phase, and the second one is the ledger phase, and the third one is the trial balance, right? And it's a summary of ledger, and financial statements can be prepared with the help of trial balance. So, by the word balance, the balances on the debit side and the credit side should match, and we also saw the sample trial balance format. And trial balance is prepared on any particular date, and which should be mentioned at the top. Trial balance asset, the date has to be mentioned, and the ledger accounts has to be entered along with its respective balances, debit or credit balances, right? And we also discussed about the limitations of trial balance, like it cannot identify the errors, and we are dealing a double entry system, so incorrect debits and credits, incorrect debits, trial balance will still match, but it will not show like whether it is correctly matched or not. And even if the amount is right, it can be an error in posting which cannot be identified by trial balance, because trial balance is just a summary of the ledger balances. If a journal is processed but not moved into ledger, then if they then trial balance will still match, but it might be incorrect, right? And if the entry is posted twice, all these things are limitations of trial balance, where trial balance cannot show the error what has happened. Okay, so we'll continue with the trial balance. There are two different ways of preparing a trial balance. One is total method of preparation, and the second is balance method. Balance method. The concept is very easy actually. It's not to be put in too much into the head. What is the total method? Like we are having ledgers, right? It's a debtors ledger. That can be sum of total, and the debit side is say like 100, and the total, and I'm putting it here, debit side, debit side, and credit side, right? Total and debit side is 100, and total and credit side is 40, right? Similarly, creditors, the total and debit side is 10, total and credit side is 40. Bank, total and debit side is 50, and the total and credit side is 20, something like that. And capital, total and debit side is 10, total and credit side is 40, 100, something like that. Then the net balance in the account is 60, 30, 60 debit, 30 credit, right? And here it is 30 debit, and here it is 90 credit, 90 credit. And let's say cash debit side is 30, and it is 30 debit. Let's say, assume that this is the balances, right? So in the total, in the first method, trial balance asset, some dates, right? So what we will do is we'll have, let's copy the format. Let's copy the format. Copy the format here. Okay. So now we have 5 ledgers, right? 5 ledgers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ledger account is let's copy this. This is all the debtors ledger. Debtors ledger, the summary of it. And in the total method, what we will update is 100 and 40. Debtors ledger. Creditors ledger will update 40 and 10. Bank is 50 and 10 and 30. Here it is 20, 100 and 0. So in the total method, this is how we will match a trial balance. What is the total of debits and what is the total of credits? Whereas in the balance method, oops, just copying the format here. In the balance method, what we will show is only the net balance here. Net balance. I'm removing all those things. We have identified what is the net balance here, right? We have identified what is the net balance here. In the balance method, we'll say creditors 30, and we'll say bank 30. We'll say cash 30, and we'll say capital 90. In the balance method, will show only the net balance, right? That is the difference. Nothing, we don't have to confuse too much about it. In the total method, will show the debits and credits separately and arrive at the trial balance. In the balance method, will show only the net balance in the ledger as the amount, and then that's how the trial balance will match, right? Hope this is clear. Let's get into some illustrations and also the test your questions, right? I'm in illustration 4. Just in case students, friends, you have any doubts or clarifications, you can ask. As usual, you can send an email to my email ID at babupriya@rediffmail.com, and I'll come back to you. But let's continue with the illustration now. I'm in illustration 4. Illustration 4, chapter 2, unit 3, page 8, trial balance. I'm into the CA Foundation book. Okay, so let's prepare. One of our clients, Mr. Singhania, has asked you to finalize the accounts for the year ended 31st March 2016. Till date, he himself has recorded the transactions in books of accounts. As a basis of audit, Mr. Singhania furnished you with the following statement. Right? The closing inventory as on 31st March is valued at ₹574. That he has recorded every transaction correctly as the trial balance is tallied. Check the accuracy of the above trial balance. Let's do that. Right? As you can see here, the trial balance is matching, but we have to identify what is the error that we have, right? Let's put into the trial balance asset format. Trial balance asset 31st March 2016. Just removing these numbers here. So making serial numbers here. Using serial numbers here. We have 16 accounts here. Right. So now let's prepare trial balance, right? So what is the ledger account? Capital. First, we have to see whether the balance has been entered correctly or not. Capital is entered 1556, credit balance. Perfect. Drawings. Drawing should ideally be debited from the capital account, so 564. Okay. Leasehold premises. Leasehold premises is an asset, so debit balance 750. Sales. Sales credit balance 2750. Due from customers. Due from customers is sundry debtors Sundry debtor should be debit balance. So it is entered in the credit side. So it should be moved into debit side. Let's purchases. Purchases, as we know, is the debit balance. So purchases total is 1259, and purchase return. Purchase return should be a credit balance. Right? Rectify that. That's 264. Loan from bank. Loan from bank is a liability, so should be credit balance 256. Then we have trade payables. Trade payables is sundry creditor. Sundry creditor should be credit balance 528. Trade expenses. Trade expenses is debit balance. Nominal account debit all expenses and losses 700. Cash at bank. Cash at bank is an real account, so debit balance. Cash at bank. So cash at bank is a personal account, right? Debit balance. It can be debit or credit. It is given credit balance. Debit balance 226. Bills payable. Bills payable is a credit balance. Bills payable is a credit balance 100. Here it is given as debit, so move it. And salaries and wages. Salaries and wages. Debit balance 600. Salaries and wages expenses. Debit balance. Inventories. Inventories. Opening stock is given here, whereas the inventories as at closing is 574, and the two it is given as credit balance. Opening closing balance should be 574. Then we have rates and taxes. Rates and taxes are debit balance expenses 463. Sales return. Sales return is a debit balance. Sales return is a debit balance. So sales return is 98. So the total is 5,754 64 on the credit side, debit side, and the debit side it is. So the total is, now we have the all the transactions entered here. Now we have all the transactions. So Singanes capital, drawings, leasehold premises, all these transactions are entered here. What is the mistake that we have made here? Oh shit! Yo, sorry, apologies. So inventories, it's showing us 264. I entered updated as 574, 264. Right. So the total is 5,454. We should not consider the closing inventory for the purpose of calculating this, because we have seen lot many errors in posting also, that there should be a due diligence that should happen before we actually take the closing inventory. So now the trial balance is matching. You can see here so many errors has been there in the posting, sorry, in the updation of balance itself in the trial balance. So there should be a lot of due diligence that should be made while preparing the trial balance. Though it is a copy paste or the movement of balance from the ledgers to the trial balance, lot of caution should be made to carry forward the right balance, as the trial balance can still match by having incorrect postings. So a lot of due diligence has to be there in recording the journals and then transferring it to ledger and then moving it to the trial balance, so that the financial statements represents true and fair view. Okay, so now let's hope this is clear, right? Let's try and solve one more question. Yeah, we have illustration 3 here, right? Yeah, let's copy this. I'm just copying this format here. I'm copying this format here. Illustration 3. Which is in page number 7. Right? So I'm just removing the data from here. Okay. Illustration 3. 31st March 2016. Okay, for Anuradha Traders. Okay, perfect. Capital 1 lakh. Let's take capital. Capital always credit balance. We have seen in 5-finger rule. 1 lakh. Then we have sales. Sales credit balance 1,66,000. Then we have purchases. Purchases debit balance 1,50,000. Then we have sales return. Sales return debit balance. Sales return debit balance 1,000. Discount allowed. Discount allowed is an expense. Debit balance 2,000. Then we have expenses 10,000. Expenses debit balance 10,000. We have trade receivables. Trade receivables. Trade receivables is under debtors, which is a debit balance 75,000. Then we have trade payables. Trade payables is creditors, so credit balance 25,000. Then we have investments. Investments assets debit balance 15,000. Then we have cash at bank and at hand. So cash at bank debit balance unless it is given. Interest received on investment. Interest on investment is an income. Income is a credit balance. Interest on investments credit balance 1,500. Insurance paid. Insurance paid is an expense, so debit balance 2,500. Hope this is clear, right? Trial balance matches. So lot of precaution has to be made and the concept has to be understood clearly before we actually post it to trial balance. Students, hope this is clear with you. And just in case you have any queries or clarifications, please send an email to me at babupriya@rediffmail.com and I'll come back to you. Any clarifications on this class, please put it in the comments so that I'll come back to you immediately. Thank you, friends, and have a great day.